r/AskReddit, what's a subtle sign someone has been through some shit? The maturity with which they handle unexpected events. Not trusting people. You could be friends for years, and think you're close, but in fact, you don't have the slightest idea what's going on in their lives. They could be staying up all night, being depressed, and tomorrow morning say hello with a smile on their faces. They simply don't trust people anymore no matter what they do/don't do. They have good advice for people who've just experienced trauma. Or for how to handle oddly specific and fucked up situations. Super independent because they learned not to rely on anybody. When nothing shocks them. Preparation. Most people who've dealt with horrendous situations now prepare for the proverbial worst. Never asking for anything, even the bare minimum. Apologizing for things that aren't their fault even in the slightest. Never talking about their issues seriously, probably joking about it or even staying away from the topic completely. Flinching at small things. Edit, thanks for the awards and upvotes, they're greatly appreciated. Just wanted to clear some things up. Of course, some people will do these things even without having been through shit, these are just common in a lot of people who have, myself included. Unusually bad memory for the kind of person they are. Edit, since this is getting so much traction, I'd like to list how I personally deal with this issue. It affects my attention and information retaining abilities, so I do these steps to help with that side. 1. Communication. Tell your friends. Get them to understand that sometimes experiences won't stick with you even if you paid attention and enjoyed it. 2. Write your activities and goals down. You won't be left wondering what you did yesterday and what you wanted to do earlier that day either. Being able to refer back to that information is a lifesaver, both literally and metaphorically. Helps me stay sane. 3. Review conversations and what you may be learning from them. This is a great time to use the second tip. You can write down how you felt or how you interpreted new information. I did that today, for example, since I'm trying to learn how to set up commissions and bank accounts and whatnot. Spending some extra time at the end of the day seriously helped me retain that information. 4. Progress is slow towards a normal memory. It's taken me like 10-ish years to be able to actually feel more like a functioning adult and less like a snail in my mental capacity. I couldn't hang on to any information besides what I needed to pass school tests and trauma. Regaining or repairing your memory takes a lot of time, much like the healing process takes a lot of time. 5. Most importantly, understand your own self. It's similar to depression, where it's very overwhelmingly discouraging and you can't put down an exact source of your issue. Accepting that makes moving forward a lot easier, since you'll spend less time beating yourself up over not having a tangible source of your issue, and more energy to try your best since that's all you can do. Not wanting to bring up anything from their past. Honestly. Empathy and understanding. Many have heightened senses of empathy naturally, but oftentimes the people who really care for others shows me that they themselves have really needed it at some point. Disproportionate reactions. Their reactions to most things are normal or even low-key, but occasionally they have a huge response to something minor. Key sign of trauma. When shit goes down, they know what to do. When you see someone deal with something extremely emotionally damaging or physically painful and they act like they don't even notice it, like nothing's changed. When you see that, you know they've seen the worst and nothing is gonna get to them. If they pay super close attention to the expressions of people around them and are always on the lookout for someone getting angry or upset, that's a surefire sign that they were abused at some point, because it's a defense mechanism that they learned to try and head off upcoming blow-ups. Edit, were abused was probably the wrong way of putting that. Experienced severe trauma, or been through some shit are better descriptors. Reacting to things inappropriately, either in scale or in nature. They'll overreact or underreact, or they'll do things like laugh, unironically, at awful things. One example is a friend laughing and saying it isn't a proper Thanksgiving dinner unless someone pulls a knife. His drunken dad held a knife against his neck while angrily admonishing him about something. Humans are good rationalizers. If we're frequently exposed to awful things, they become normal. Difficulty putting themselves first. Lack of emotional response, whether that be happy or angry. It's like they're always in neutral. It is what it is. Thinking you are telling a fun childhood or military or, whatever, anecdote/story and looking up to realize from your friends' faces and shocked silence that it is indeed not a fun story and it's actually pretty FD. Paying very close attention to people's expressions and body language, mostly to see if they're annoyed/angry, underreacting to things, and over-explaining things that probably seem inconsequential to most. The first part is not wanting to set someone off. In tandem with this, most underreact because any expressions of unhappiness or anything that can be perceived as negative usually gets taken as an invitation to be unloaded upon or to have someone upset displace their anger, and then you end up the target of a tirade. A lot of people, myself included, over-explain things because it's a defense mechanism in anticipation of being yelled at or being very harshly criticized because the other person tries to pin the blame on you, even for things out of your control, which is why one over-explains. Edit, as others mentioned, that I forgot because I've been actively working to counteract these apologizing too much and, at least for me, not being able to joke. People constantly point out that I take everything very seriously or that I don't laugh/don't joke well. It's because I've had moments where someone said something so ridiculous and illogical, I think it must be a joke. But they weren't joking and they got quite mad, so from then on, I simply took everything seriously and at face value, because on the off chance it wasn't meant to be a joke, I would at least not be yelled at. It's quite scary as a child when you are told something that sounds absurd. You think it must be for comedic value and then react in that way, but then it's just hours of berating later. It's like walking into an ambush. You learn not to risk it. Also, thank you guys for the replies, comments, awards. I've thanked generous awarders and explained to them, but I'll say it here, I'm sad people could relate to this. All your comments about seeing yourselves in this were hard. But at the same time, I am glad you all felt seen and understood. It's more important to me that you all realize you're not alone in your experiences. I hope you're all doing better. Don't like being touched. Apologizing often, for things not their fault. People who have been through some shit are reading these replies and realizing for the first time what their giveaways were all this time. They almost never get surprised or shocked. People who are very closed off. I've always known that I'm a really private person, but I've recently made the connection about why I'm closed off to such a degree. When you've been through some sh*t in your life, sometimes the idea of anyone knowing any intimate detail about you can be taxing and even scary. My dog is a total sweetheart until I try to bake bread. As soon as I bring out my rolling pin, he freaks out. I don't want to know what happened, but it makes me sad. Empathy. Most people can't imagine themselves in your shoes until they are there. If they are particularly understanding, it's because they have been through the shit themselves and give people understanding because of it. The 1,000-yard stare. Sometimes, even when they want to, they can't cry. Being able to put themselves in other people's shoes even in the worst situation, plus always feeling guilty about something. They seem to wait for bad things to happen and can't imagine a good or normal outcome. I call this the ghost walk, where someone will casually walk on the front of their feet to suppress the noise from their footsteps. I notice this from abused children/teens typically. Some people should just not have children, So sad. Enduring pain like it's nothing. Children, who grow up in dysfunctional homes where there's a lot of fighting and nagging, when they're adults, tend to hate confrontation. They lack self-esteem and much more easily believe people who gaslight them. They don't easily stand up for themselves. When they don't ask for favors or help. Ever. Lack of trust. No trust falls, no matter the person. They don't like it when people get them something, or they don't like being the center of attention. Their heart may be racing, but their face stays calm. When they're not disappointed when something bad happens, they accept it and keep moving. They hate threats. Edit, damn everybody. Appreciate all the upvotes. Now reread that third one and please go away. They don't react to a lot of things, they keep a calm, neutral exterior most of the time. Laughing at something bad/inconvenient happening to them. Half the replies are just how I behave normally, should I be worried? Their reaction to unexpected stress. If, for instance, you startle someone and their reaction is atypical, defensive or offensive stance, dropping to the ground, or otherwise very pronounced, followed by anger, that's a sign they have spent a lot of time in life-threatening situations. Also, if everyone around is panicking, but they are very calm and collected, that is an indication of living in a state of extreme prolonged stress. They check for the exits. They are mostly silent, lost in their own world and have difficulty maintaining relations and conversations. In my experience, a lot of people I've been around have poked fun at their trauma without necessarily realizing they didn't actually tell me or people around them about it until after the joke happened and nobody necessarily reacted. I've even done this a couple times myself. Definitely has created some awkward situations. When someone just apologizes for doing something as simple as dropping an item. They are very good at placating drunk or otherwise irrational people. Was in rehab with a bloke who had PTSD from war. He was in Afghanistan. He wouldn't even tell me where he was deployed. If you can't even mention the location of your trauma occurred, you've been through some shit. They don't sweat the small stuff. Not a sure sign, but when you've been through something bad, little inconveniences often don't seem like that big of a deal anymore. When someone in the room gets loud or pushy, the person quietly leaves. Kindness. The more sensitive, more generous, more of a let-go person, more of an I don't want to own anything, I want to give things away. Those people just lost interest enough that they are not even mad, they want everyone to win. I was never in the military, but I have multiple friends and family who served and were in combat. They don't complain about anything normal people do. Raining out and they have no umbrella? Smile on their face. Snowing. Same smile. Traffic. Same smile. The exception being my one cousin with PTSD who ended his own life a year ago. If you know anyone who's struggling, be there for them. Flinching at small things. I've been through so much shit, but I always try to put on a fun and outgoing demeanor. People can only tell when I open up, and it usually ends in the weeping/laughing thing. It lasts a few seconds and then back to normal. My sister's 6-year-old friend came for a visit. She was a foster kid placed with some church friends of ours. When she got to our house, my dad told them they could grab some snacks from the pantry. Then every 20 or so minutes, for 4+ hours, she would go to our fridge or pantry, open the door, look like she's searching for something, close the door and go back and play. When she left, my dad found a stash of snacks under my sister's bed she had put there. Her foster parents had told my dad that could happen, so he wasn't surprised. But I remember kinda yelling at her to stop opening up the fridge and my dad taking me aside and explaining why she was doing this. Now this is the part that still makes my heart break and my blood boiled. Since age 3 she had been living out of a car with her doped up mom and a brother who couldn't have been 2 years old. When they finally stayed long enough in one area for CPS to become aware of the situation, she was 5. Her mom would disappear for days and leave them in the car by themselves. This little girl, at age 6, had such a strong food scarcity trauma that her survival instinct was to check for food every 20 minutes at a stranger's house. Now, if you've made it this far, I have some good news. That girl and her brother were adopted by that foster family shortly after and have grown up relatively well. But I will never forget the survival instincts present in that little girl's eyes. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you have enjoyed this video and subscribe to never miss an upload.